a beautiful night, and we call it Bella Notte.
My personal journey at Facebook started about 5 years ago. I started in November of 2010, which makes me kind of a relic within the company. And I was actually a late adopter of Facebook. I wasn't one of those people that could say I had it when I was in college. I started in probably 2008, maybe 2 years before I started Facebook, and it was because I went to a high school reunion, and I was one of those people that was the only way you could connect with people after you left. Does anyone else have that experience? You have to be like over a certain age to know what I'm talking about. So I saw a few people raising their hand, but that was me. And before that, for myself personally, I like to refer to that as my personal dark age. It was a shameful period, and that was the time when I had a screen name. And I was SoCal Guy 22. That was me. I'm not proud. Looking back on it, it seems really kind of creepy, like I was in a perpetual state of online dating, but that's what it was. But y'all remember that time, right, before we were using our real names online? And this seems especially appropriate to talk about with the Ashley Madison stuff that's breaking the news today. But you remember what it was like? You thought if you put your real name online that someone was going to clear out your bank account or people were going to show up at your front door. It just seemed really scary to put your real name online. And fortunately, Mark had this idea that if everyone just used their authentic identity online, it would make online experiences and other experiences better. So if you look me up today on Facebook, this is what you'll find. This is my real identity, Jonathan Murtaugh. That's my photo. And this is actually really current because what you're seeing there is a photo of me getting married 1 month ago. I was, thank you very much. We made it 4 weeks, so I'm really excited. But what you're seeing here, this photo, that's my back with my arms out, and you see my wife on the right, and we had this very special moment that someone captured when they were coming by, and it was the day when it dumped raining. Remember that? Like part of the town washed out. But someone snapped this moment where my wife and I gathered our 4 kids around. We're a blended family, and we just took a moment to thank them and tell them how much we love them. And they posted it on Facebook, and they tagged me, and of course I took that photo and I made it my own. And I'm getting a little misty-eyed as I say it. But the reason I share that really personal story is that it really is the DNA of Facebook. Our mission is to help people connect and share and give people the power to do that. It's in the DNA of our company to be focused on people. And if you were to walk around our campus 5 years ago when I started and we were having hackathons, you would see scenes like this. In the movie, it looked a lot better than it did in real life. In the background there, you'll see some of the David Cho famous $200 million graffiti that was all around the walls. But this is what you would see in our hackathons or when very small groups of engineers come together to work on something for 2 or 3 days that they don't normally work on. And back then, there were a couple of young guys. I literally think one of them was 19 and one was 21. They had this idea about photos. And the idea was from an inside. If anyone here had an account way, way, way back, you might remember when the only thing you could do with a photo on Facebook was your profile photo. Because early on, we thought Facebook was just going to kind of be a directory of people. And you would have your photo so people would know that it was you, and you would kind of manage this listing for yourself. But they noticed every Monday when they came to work that everyone was changing their profile photos to something that they had done that weekend. A lot of it was keg stands and parties and things like that. But they're like, oh, hang on a second. So people are actually using photos to share moments. It's more of a live thing than it was what we thought it was going to be. So focusing on people, and I have to pause here and say, when they were doing this, when they were thinking about this problem, this was at a time when there were probably 6 or 7 really good photo services online. There was Snapfish, Yahoo had something, Kodak, HP, I can't remember all of them, and they all had great services. You could do the red eye reduction and the color correction. They had tons of storage, and a lot of it was free. So we had these 2 young guys that were going to take on photos in that environment. But focusing on people, they came up with an idea, and it was strip all the technology away, remove all of the capabilities, and add one thing, which is the ability to tag a friend in a photo. The idea was, the insight was, that the most important thing, what makes a photo special, is the connection that it gives you to a memory, to a person that's important to you. And within 6 months, after launching that feature, there were more photos being uploaded to Facebook than all of the other services combined. And we didn't have, now, we've since with Instagram and other things that you can do on Facebook, we've obviously added a lot of cool features back in. But back then, that was it. All you could do was tag a photo. You couldn't even crop it. You couldn't change the size, nothing. Underneath this is a belief that we have that the most important thing to focus on is on people and not technology, and that it's really good business to do that. Excuse me. We think it's good business for two reasons. The first one is that people don't change very quickly. They're wired to certain things over time. And we think we're going to add value in something meaningful to people's lives if we focus on them. The second one is it's a more sustainable business model because they're not changing. Things that were invented a year ago or technology that came online a year ago is going to be obsolete in a couple of months. But the way people are wired is not going to change. So this is a really fun quote. I'm going to read it off my monitor here. This is a quote from someone who's being a curmudgeon about a new technology. This will produce forgetfulness. So this person is referring to this technology. This will produce forgetfulness of those who learn to use it because they will not practice their memory. So I could think of a lot of things this could apply to in the last 20 or 30 years. It could be now I have teenagers, and I think they're always cheating when they use those scientific calculators. And it has like cosine and tan, everything is on there. So it could be someone referring to those. It could be someone referring to having iPads in the classroom or different learning devices. This is actually Plato talking about the alphabet. The reason is that Plato was in an oral transmission society. Everything that they did was by memory. They memorized all their great works and they transmitted them orally. So he thought the introduction of the alphabet was going to actually hurt people in their intellect because they wouldn't have to memorize things anymore. They'd be able to write them down. So being able to write something down was actually seen as a negative. If you look at the timeline of human communication over the grand scheme of things, things like the alphabet and the printing press, those are actually relatively recent. Television, telephone, radio, and internet were basically invented yesterday. And what's really interesting, because people move so slowly, is that whenever a new media form is introduced, there tends to be a lag time. They tend to use the new thing like they were using the last thing because they don't really understand what's possible with the new thing yet. So if you look again at this timeline, spoken documents, so when the alphabet was introduced, if you look back at really early legal documents, they're really funny because there was no formal language yet around the writing. So you read these things, it says, "Hey there, it's John, I'm going to sue you now, get ready." And it was like they were speaking, but they hadn't figured out that you could do different things with written language to formalize what you were writing. When the printing press was invented, the first thing they did was print giant tomes that were really meant for clergy, for monks. They didn't figure out until a little bit later that the printing press, the real magic of it was that you could distribute literature to the masses. Television, early versions, was just filmed plays. Websites were, the early websites, and everyone remembers, or maybe not everyone remembers, I'm dating myself, were basically putting brochures online. My favorite Thai restaurant still kind of does that, but that's okay with me. I just need the menu. But all of these things, the reason I'm talking about them is that the focus on people and not on technology fuels the way that we think about mobile video. And it's really at the base of the three things I'm going to share with you today, insights to share with you. The first one is that we believe that the future of mobile video is immersive. And when I say immersive, I'm not just talking about virtual reality. I'm talking about technology that disappears, where the edges leave and you don't really realize that you're experiencing technology. It's the most human experience possible. There's a really great documentary out now on the history of film by Mark Cousins. I think it's actually on Netflix. Has anyone seen this? No? Okay. So I highly recommend everyone watches it. It goes all the way back to the origins of film in France, to Thomas Edison in Menlo Park, New Jersey. Fast forward to today to Mad Max in 3D. And this here is a little snippet of a French film that I'm going to play for you, one of the original films. And film as a technology really had three phases. In the first phase, nobody thought it was going to work. It made people motion sick. They weren't used to watching moving pictures on a screen. Some people thought it was sucking their souls out of their bodies. This is true. They didn't think this technology was going to last. The second phase was kind of the teenage years, like, okay, this thing is working, but how do we do sets, and we can go on location, and we have to have catering, and really important things like that. And that's really where we're at. I would say Facebook is at, and all of us are at with online video today and with mobile video. But the third phase is where all of this gets figured out, and the edges, like I said, go away. And you don't realize that you're experiencing technology. You're just there, it's what you're used to. Just like in this next presidential election, you're not going to be able to imagine voting for a candidate that you didn't hear speak live, because all of our lives, that's what we've been used to. So you may have heard the story that we had engineers that were inspired by the moving pictures in Harry Potter. I'm kind of curious. I take a lot of polls when I talk. How many people have heard this or read this? Okay, a good number of you. So there are stories out there that we had engineers that were inspired by the moving pictures in the Harry Potter newspapers in creating our autoplay video, and I can tell you it's actually true. It's absolutely true. They looked at this and they said, man, this is a thing. We have to create this. We have to do this. But for autoplay video, it was a technological problem. We had to figure out how to load video in the background of newsfeed while you were doing other things. So it was really a bandwidth problem. But we figured it out. We have autoplay video. And autoplay video basically took away 2 friction points in the software for the human experience. The first one is you didn't have to wait anymore for something to load before you could hit play and watch it. The second is that once it was loaded and you hit play, you didn't have to hunt around on the screen for a little X to get through an ad so you could actually watch your content. So it comes onto your screen, the frames start to roll, and you're watching. It's a much, much more pleasant experience, and it's really changed the way that people are willing to engage with video on our platform. So in the short 10 or 11-year history of Facebook, we've had a few phases. The first one was when it was all text. Then, of course, we went through photos. Video was kind of the zone that we're in now. We're still trying to figure a lot of things out. But the next phase is really special, and that's that immersive stuff that I was talking about. Here we go. This is something we're calling spherical video. But this is really about being able to go to a Cirque du Soleil experience or a sporting event, or maybe it's a class in a country far away, because sitting in that space is a little pole with a bunch of cameras on top, and you're able to experience it like you were there in a very immersive way, where the walls and the edges go away. But the coolest thing will be when it's really just your friend who's traveling, and you're able to have this in the palm of your hand. It's going to be a personal experience, and it's going to be something mobile that you take away with you. And I can already imagine great advertisers and their agencies creating content that's going to take advantage of this. I can picture myself on a beach. I don't know where I am. Am I in Mexico or am I in Maui? And I turn around and it just delivers. And it's a Corona ad. And I see the bottles and I know exactly what it is. And I know that's coming. There's going to be some great stuff coming out when people figure out this platform. So as Chris mentioned when he introduced me, I'm in the TV and film side of our business, so we work with broadcast, cable, and the film studios, and their marketing and advertising on our platform and on Instagram. We get asked the question a lot about video, which is very simple. Hey, how is it possible that my 15 or 30-second spot would have as much impact on a tiny little screen, on a mobile screen, as it would on a big screen TV in someone's living room? It's a really fair question. So we've done a lot of thinking about it. We've been talking to a lot of companies and partners doing research on it. And one of them, and I recommend you look them up, is a company called SalesBrain. They're a neuromarketing agency. And you can actually look this up. Everything I'm telling you now, we've released publicly, and you can look this up yourself. You can Google it. How's that? But what they did is they evaluated the response of people, cognitive, emotional, memory. I think there were 3 or 4 different factors, watching the same exact stimuli on a mobile screen versus a big screen television. And what they found was really interesting. The first thing they found was that the emotional intensity and engagement with the content was exactly the same. Not only did they find that those things were the same, but they found that on mobile, the attention level and the positive emotion association was actually higher than on television, and that people that watched the same content on television had a harder time actually remembering everything. They had cognitive overload. They were distracted in their environment watching it on a television. And there's some early theories about why this is, and they're kind of intuitive if you think about it. The first one is that when you're holding your phone to watch something, your eyes, your brain automatically tell your hand where to hold it. So it's solving the aspect ratio automatically. Your brain's an amazing computer. It solves it. In a lot of cases, the aspect ratio is actually better the way people watch their mobile phone screens. The other reason is that your experience with your mobile phone is so much different than a TV. Your mobile phone is personal. It's about your connections with people. It's your lifeline to your family and friends. So the overall positive experience is just different. It's just better on a mobile phone. The second thing that we think about a lot because like I said, our mission is to connect the world, is that the future of mobile video is 1 billion people who don't live here. And this room is full of brilliant business people that are building your model on the future of mobile video, and it's just really important to think about what's coming next in terms of your addressable audience. We think about things like this because of charts like this one. And this one is showing that in around late 2015, early 2016 will finally be the point where the smartphone installed base in the world will tip over the internet population. We also look at a lot at charts like this one that show that phones are improving fast. So the ability of people around the world who are all wired the same way, who don't always even need to hear words or language to get the point of your content, the ability of those people to receive your content is going to explode over the next couple of years. So if you're in a business that is related to online video, and online video is mobile, you have to talk to these people. If you ever make it to Facebook headquarters, if you have a friend who can walk you around, ask them to take you to our empathy lab. I was up there yesterday, I actually took this picture yesterday and slid it into my deck at the last second. This is the kind of walk-around version anyone could walk up to, and then there's kind of a more labby lab that's like behind doors that you can maybe also see. But it's basically a place where we simulate the experiences of people on all kinds of different phones around the world, including network conditions. There's a lot of places where 2G is not going to go away anytime soon. And you'll see all the different feature phones that we have here, and you can see this is the more visitor-facing version of our empathy lab. But it's really important to think about that in your business models, and you're taking into account the actual experience on the other end, because not everyone is holding an iPhone or a Samsung or on a great LTE network that you're on. The third thing is that the future of mobile belongs to the best storytellers. And this is going all the way back to the beginning when I was talking about people not changing, technology changes fast, and you have to focus on the wiring of people. Oops, I have to point that way, okay. So what mobile video technology has done, and I'm using the word mobile instead of online, so we're off of desktops, that's already going away. What mobile video technology has done is it's put a little creative studio in everyone's pocket. Anyone can film a video, have basic editing functions right on their phone. So this has created a very crowded marketplace of content, an explosion of content and options. And another industry that is dealing with that, is really in the throes of it, and I'm sure everyone here knows this, is the television industry. I recently attended, I think it was about 2 months ago, the Variety TV Tune-In Summit. And it was fascinating, because this is the industry especially that my team serves. It was fascinating to watch 2 different perspectives on what's going on with the explosion of content. The first group of people were the TV network executives that were getting on stage, and you could practically see their hair falling out while they were talking. It's a nightmare for them. There's too many channels, there's too many shows, how do you monetize, the advertising rates are dropping. It's really difficult for them. Then you had showrunners and creatives get on stage, and they said, this is the best time of my life. I can get shows on television now that I never could have dreamt of 15 or even 10 years or 5 years ago. There's so many places for content to appear, and so many options. So the people that are winning, I mean, think about the shows that are on television now, or on Netflix, or on Hulu, or anywhere else, or Amazon Prime. All these places now are creating content. It's an amazing bevy of stuff for us to watch. So just like the people that are going to win in this race on mobile video are the ones that focus on human insights and the ones that double down on great storytelling. Also relevant here is that with this explosion, it's like this superpower where everyone is going to be able. Do I? Yeah, it's my superpower. Sounds like sparrows. Am I good? Okay. Nope. Okay, you know, talk. Am I okay to talk? Okay. I could kill the mic and just talk loud. How's that? Okay, can everybody hear me? I turned my mic off and it stayed on. It's defying my power. Okay, I'm just going to talk. Anyways, the point here is that everyone has a superpower where you can ball up an experience in your hand and you can throw it anywhere in the world, anytime, anywhere, right? We all have the superpower. but our brains can't keep up with that. The ability for brains to keep up with this information, it's just not going to happen. This is why stories are so important. Whether it was yesterday or 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago, what people remember are really great stories, and that's the stuff that's going to cut through the clutter. When we started Facebook, we're given this sticker, and this is, I have one of these on my computer, and it says we're 1% finished. It's basically to remind us that we're at the very beginning of a journey. We don't really even know what we're going to be building. I can tell you in that conversation that Chris referenced when he asked about our strategy with video, when I started, we were not talking about video. I mean, we've just been kind of following where people have been taking us, but we didn't have some grandiose strategy to get into video. It just didn't happen that way. I wish I could say that. All of our mistakes have been very public, so you know that we didn't really know the future. But we have these stickers. The duct work in our offices is open and unfinished, and it's deliberate to remind us that we're a work in progress. So I guess what I'll close with is that we're in this with you, and we're excited to partner with people like you in creating this new immersive experience, this new world, and the ability for people to share. And we're thankful to be on the journey with you. So thank you very much.
Registered. But on the video side, right now, you guys, the last report I heard, something like 4 billion video views every day, something like that. How should, and there's a lot of discussion about how to think of those video views in context to, say, YouTube or other platforms. So when you're thinking of video views over there, kind of a little more, but from a marketer perspective, how should they be thinking about those views?
Yep. So you should basically hold us accountable for the impact of your video. Any marketer, I'm going to talk as if everyone here was spending money with us on video views. That's how I'm going to talk. You should hold us accountable for the money that you invest with us as a platform the same way you hold any other dollar that you invest in media. So if you're investing money in television commercials, you have certain metrics that you need to hit, whether it's awareness or recall or those traditional business metrics. You should hold us accountable the same way. We don't really, when we're having business conversations with our partners, we're not actually even focusing as much, if you can believe it, it's in the press, but when we're having a meeting with a marketer and talking about meeting business objectives, we're actually talking about measuring the things that are going to actually move the needle on their business. And we partner with Nielsen and Millward Brown and a lot of third-party companies. We often work with whoever our clients are working with, whoever their measurement partners are, to apply pretty traditional measurement methods to the campaigns they run with us so that we're in line and hold accountable the same way. So it's kind of moving from digital KPIs to business metrics and business results, I guess, would be the answer. And I think I saw a hand here. I'll take these two because I saw these two shoot up. Go ahead.
Thanks for, especially the immersive technology. It's very different. One thing I was curious, you mainly talking with broadcasters, cable networks, studios about how to market on your platform. How much are you talking to them about them bringing their content to the platform? The one big issue with Facebook is you don't pay me for my post, but they're usually used to getting paid for it. So how much is that conversation starting with them?
Yeah. So we're always talking about different ways of bringing content on the platform. Our guiding principle is so I'm going to draw a line to something that Chris said. When I started, every time we had 100 million more people, we would have a big hoo-ha about it. So when I started, I think we had 400 million people. And when we hit 500 million, we had a big announcement. And 600 million, we had a big announcement. And we shifted the internal metric to engagement and time spent, because we knew it wasn't really going to matter if we had all these numbers, but people didn't really stick with us. So that's when we started thinking about the types of things that people were seeing in their news feed, whether it was photos or check-ins from a friend at a restaurant or content from partners. So because we kind of came about it that way, we didn't come into it with a monetization model like other companies did. So that's something that we're always evaluating to be fair and talk to partners. So we had one more.
Could everyone hear that? You'd said the comparison to YouTube is apples and oranges. I just wonder if you could expand on that and how Facebook's differentiating itself. And then maybe the second part is just in the ad side, it does feel like the very early days where just people are plopping commercials on. I think Vessel's doing interesting things with their 5-second ads. Just have you guys been thinking about that and how, you touched on it with the AR and the VR stuff, but it'd be great to kind of see what you feel the future of advertising is on Facebook as well.
Yeah, so the reference to apples and oranges, I think, is really tied to the mind state of people when they go on a platform like YouTube versus Facebook. It's, when you go on most or many other platforms, you go on with intent because you heard something was there, right? So I heard that a trailer dropped and I want to go see it, or I followed a link that I wanted to see. And it may be funny sounding, but this is really important. Nobody goes onto Facebook looking for anything, right? You come onto Facebook kind of like an open receiver and you're just kind of thumbing through. You're doing that. We talk about content having thumb-stopping power. So it's the difference between intent. I think they do an amazing job as an intent platform. People want to see something and they know they can go there and look it up. It's very consistent with Google's mission to organize information. They do an amazing job at it. Whereas in the marketing funnel, in the traditional marketing funnel, I would say we're more in the awareness band simply because people don't come looking for anything. It's a lot more like television, really. The mind state of people when they're consuming an ad on Facebook is a lot more like when they're on television because they're consuming other content. They weren't looking for that trailer or that ad for a P&G product. Does that make sense? Yep. And what was the second half of the question?
Second was just, right now it feels like ads are intrusive and sort of feel like their TV model plays into a mobile setting. And I thought Vessel was really the first company that's done something kind of groundbreaking and really different in terms of forcing advertisers to treat mobile as a different platform. Just where Facebook's headed with that, what thoughts you have around as you start to implement advertising video, what we can expect to see. Where is it too early to say?
Yeah. I think we don't know. I mean, that's honest. That's an honest answer. I'll tell you that the way that we so it's funny to listen to Zuck talk internally. He used to say this a lot more than he does today, but because let's be honest, basically ads suck, right? Like, it's interrupting what we're doing, right? So his goal has always been to get to a point where they were an inline experience and not intrusive, and where the content in the ads was actually so good that you didn't mind that it was there, right? We have lots of little test groups, and there's probably people in here that are in them. I don't know if you ever had the experience when you have your Facebook app and you've updated it, and your friend updated their app, but something on yours is different. That means you're in a test group, right? So your like button's maybe a little bit bigger, or your photo did something different. So we're always trying things out. We want to see how people like stuff. We have the benefit of mass numbers that we can do that. So we have a holdout group of several 100,000 people that have never seen an ad on Facebook. And they read this, they're like, what's the big deal? This is great. This is free. I don't see ads. They never got a letter telling them that they don't see ads. That's just their experience. So they don't understand why everyone else is making such a big deal. But we have that holdout group because we survey them on their experience using Facebook. And so we have 4 or 5 questions that we use to measure their sentiment, their experience about how they feel using the platform. And we use that as the bar for everyone else. So we ask the same 4 or 5 questions to people who do see a certain number of ads a day. And we basically use that to it's like the anger index, right? Like you don't want people who see ads to be much more pissed off or have a different experience than people who don't. You want them to be happy, just like the people who didn't see ads, right? We're always trying to optimize to that. So we make our decisions based on that. To what you're saying, I think we know so little right now about what the impact is going to be, and there's so little way of testing that we just don't know yet. But those are the kinds of things, that's the filter that we're going to look through to make those choices. So, all right, thank you very much.